Welcome to this edition of NewsWatch. I'm Charlene Aaron. Today on the broadcast, from Iraq to Egypt to Nigeria, Christians are under attack. A look at the church in crisis. But first, Mark Martin is in our CBN newsroom with the latest news of the day.
Thanks, Charlene. Abortion advocates say a Supreme Court ruling today will endanger women and abortion clinic workers. But a unanimous ruling by the nation's high court seemed to show the justices thought otherwise. CBN's Paul Strand was at the Supreme Court when the ruling was announced.
The Massachusetts bubble zone law allowed people to talk about anything but abortion and all choices surrounding the life of an unborn baby within 35 feet of an abortion clinic. All 9 justices struck the law down, saying it was way too much of a burden on free speech.
And what is in fact the case outside of most abortion clinics these days are people who are simply peacefully trying to provide information and praying outside abortion clinics.
Kristen Hawkins of Students for Life says this is a big victory for students who want to counsel other young women outside clinics not to get an abortion.
And these young people see turnarounds every time they go in front of the abortion facility because they're the same age as the girl walking in. And so she looks at them and says, why are you out here? You know, why are you giving up your Saturday to be here to help me? And it causes her to think, maybe there's something wrong with what I'm about to do.
The court said not only did Massachusetts bubble zone violate the rights of the sidewalk counselors, but also the women who might have heard a pro-life message from them and decided not to get an abortion.
This is a defense of free speech, a defense of religious liberty, and really a defense of women's informed consent, so that they have a right to know what abortion is about.
You know, even if you don't like the point of view, in this country, we get to express it.
Reverend Rob Schenck was actually in the courtroom when the Chief Justice announced the ruling. Pro-choice forces say it means abortion clinic workers and their customers will face more danger and harassment from pro-lifers. Schenck says the Chief Justice and court dismissed that argument.
The other side tries to disparage these good people and make them out to be crazed maniacs that are violent and threatening. And in fact, the Supreme Court of the United States said nothing could be more false or less true.
Paul Strand, CBN News, the Supreme Court.
Joining us now for more is Jordan Sekulow of the American Center for Law and Justice. And Jordan, this is a unanimous ruling. How big a victory is this?
This is a big win, Mark, because this is the kind of the first time the court is starting to get rid of what we call the abortion distortion. The idea that those who are pro-life have a different First Amendment than those who support abortion. And in this case, for the court to unanimously come down and say this 35-foot fixed buffer zone around abortion clinics violates the First Amendment, not because of strict scrutiny being applied, but because of this is not narrowly tailored. You can't just say, well, because some places have had 10 or feet or 15 feet, that now we're going to have 35 feet. And again, this being this opinion coming today, I think for everyone in the pro-life movement, these are those incremental victories we have to move towards to getting the First Amendment to apply equally to both sides of the issue.
Justice Scalia had some harsh words from the court about its past rulings about abortion rights and free speech. Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. You know, we've actually argued one of those cases that came up in Hill versus Colorado, which was one of the first buffer zone cases where the court did say that some kind of buffer zone, some kind of non-free speech area was okay. Now, this is even on public sidewalks. What the court did today was not say that that's never constitutional when it comes to abortion clinics. What they said was that 35 feet and these arbitrary and huge zones of no speech are not constitutional. But again, they did not fully reverse past Supreme Court precedent that allowed for some bans of free speech zones. Of course, we disagree with that. There's one thing, you know, there are laws in place. If people are trying to block entrance to an abortion clinic, they get arrested. Those laws are in place. So the idea that you just ban speech anywhere, we don't agree with. But this is an incremental victory. You gotta win victories like this to get back to the starting point where, again, the First Amendment should apply equally to everyone.
Jordan, let's talk about the impact of the Supreme Court's ruling on these other laws that you're talking about.
Sure. Well, you know what this will do? It will make states think twice before they start implementing restrictive rules that govern what kind of speech can take place around abortion clinics, and specifically banning all speech and only exempting the abortion clinics staff and acting as if, that there's no laws already on the books to prevent crime. And when I say crime, listen, there are pro-life activities, civil disobedience, like blocking entrances to abortion clinics. Those people get arrested. If you harass someone, you get arrested. If you threaten someone, you get arrested. So this was this try to ban speech on public sidewalks. So we're not talking about private property here. We're talking about public sidewalks, traditional public forum. And so for Massachusetts, they came in, they said, we're going to make the most restrictive ban out there. And it was. And the Supreme Court today said that's unconstitutional.
Okay, Jordan Sekulow of the American Center for Law and Justice. Thanks, Jordan.
Thanks, Mark.
The U.S. Supreme Court also has voted to limit President Obama's power to bypass Congress and make recess appointments to high-level government positions. The court's decision establishes a congressional break has to last at least 10 days to be considered a recess under the Constitution. It also ruled that President Obama's appointments to the National Labor Relations Board in 2012 without Senate confirmation were a violation of the Constitution. Speaker of the House John Boehner is considering a lawsuit against President Obama, accusing him of ignoring the law and, quote, aggressive unilateralism. Boehner says Obama is bypassing Congress on certain policies. The House Speaker said the president is misusing his executive powers and asserting a, quote, king-like authority.
The Constitution makes it clear that the president's job is to faithfully execute the laws. In my view, the president has not faithfully executed the laws.
White House spokesman Josh Earnest disagrees with Boehner's actions, saying he doesn't think Americans will support a lawsuit against the president. The digital information on your cell phones can no longer be searched by police without a warrant. That's according to a unanimous ruling by the Supreme Court. Caitlin Burke reports on this historic case.
It's a bold ruling for a digital age. A unanimous Supreme Court ruled that privacy rights apply to 21st century technology, specifically cell phones. Modern cell phones hold for many Americans the privacies of life, wrote Chief Justice Roberts. The fact that technology now allows an individual to carry such information in his hand does not make the information any less worthy of the protection for which the founders fought. This opinion dismisses the government's argument that there's no legal distinction between smartphones and other physical items like a wallet or an address book that can be found on a suspect during an arrest.
It's a huge victory for anyone who values privacy.
Warrantless searches of a suspect are often justified by the need to protect officers or to prevent a person from destroying evidence. But Justice Roberts said that digital information can't hurt an officer, and police may still take the cell phone, they just can't look at what's on it until they have a warrant. Still, privacy comes at a cost, and some investigations will be disrupted or slowed down. The new ruling has no impact on the National Security Agency's data collection programs, but lawyers involved in the case say the justice's opinions signal their interest in the dangers of government overreach. Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
A federal appeals court has ruled that states must allow gay couples to marry, supporting a lower court ruling that struck down Utah's gay marriage ban. A panel of judges voted 2-1. Now, that's the first time a federal judge has argued against gay marriage. The dissenting judge says his colleagues are overreaching in striking down a voter-approved law. Another federal court in Indiana ruled in favor of gay marriage yesterday. Christian villages in northern Iraq are under attack by Islamic insurgents. Thousands of Christians fled their homes as Sunni militants unleashed an artillery barrage on a cluster of villages about 50 miles from Kurdistan. The villagers are seeking refuge in the Kurdish city of Erbil. As they waited at a checkpoint, the Peshmerga, Kurdish armed forces, drove out to counter the ISIS assault. The UN estimates at least 900 civilians have been killed and 650 wounded in the fighting in Iraq. CBN News reporter Chris Mitchell got a chance to see the Kurdish military forces known as the Peshmerga in action near Kirkuk. The name Peshmerga literally means those who face death. To see Chris's full report on how they live up to that name, go to our website, cbnnews.com. Another deadly attack in Nigeria today. 21 people are dead and 17 wounded in a bombing at a shopping mall in the country's capital, Abuja. It is the latest in a series of violent attacks blamed on Islamic extremists. 2 separate explosions in April killed more than 120 people and wounded about 200 at a busy bus station in Abuja. Boko Haram claimed responsibility for both attacks, and the group has threatened further attacks. Coming up, a closer look at increasing atrocities against Christians worldwide.
Get Gordon Robertson's Our Father, Keys to the Lord's Prayer, and discover a deeper relationship with God. What it means to overcome evil, how to pray in the power of the kingdom, and the life-changing purpose God has for you. As a special bonus, you'll see a tour of some of Israel's most important sites and learn the amazing discoveries that are being uncovered today.
Release the power of God's kingdom in your life.
Get Our Father, Keys to the Lord's Prayer, available now.
Children, each of them precious, each of them a gift, each of them unique. All of them are a work in progress, a story being written, a sculpture taking form. That's where Superbook comes in by providing a strong spiritual foundation for the children you love.
This month, The Fiery Furnace.
The king is wasting money on a statue, one he wants us to bow to.
Sometimes the right decision is the hardest one to make.
We will never serve your gods. Then heat the furnace to 7 times its usual temperature!
Log on to CBN.com or call the number below to receive Superbook's newest episode, The Fiery Furnace. Yours for a gift of only $25.
I can't watch!
Look, I see 4 men walking around in the fire unharmed.
Get Superbook and watch the miracles happen.
What is wrong with you?
I hate you!
Easier than this. You just don't know what to do.
Being a foster or adoptive parent can be very difficult. I know. I've been there. That's why Orphans Promise developed Adoption and Foster RX, solutions for wounded families. In this DVD series, parenting experts take on the tough issues and offer proven strategies. Don't miss this vital information. Call now, because there is hope for wounded families.
Another twist in the case of the Sudanese mother freed from a death sentence in Sudan. 27-year-old Meriam Ibrahim is now accused of falsifying travel documents. Security agents arrested Ibrahim and her family at the airport as they attempted to leave the country. Her attorney says the embassy has assured authorities that the passport is genuine. Ibrahim had been sentenced to death for marrying a Christian and abandoning the Muslim faith. On Monday, a Sudanese appellate court overturned her conviction, but she was rearrested on Tuesday. She's now out on bail, and some are calling for an investigation into the State Department's handling of her case. Tina Ramirez of Hardwire says Miriam's husband, a U.S. citizen, sought the embassy's help in September, but did not get the assistance he needed. Well, Christians are persecuted throughout the Muslim world, but you rarely hear about it in the major news media. Mark Martin tells us more.
More people around the world embrace Christianity than any other religion, and Christians are the most persecuted.
Persecution of Christians is growing around the world, and Congress needs to pay more attention to it. It needs to be a higher priority issue in our relations with all of these countries where this persecution takes place.
That persecution happens most often in the Muslim world, as the terror group identifying itself as the Islamic State of Iraq in Syria, or ISIS, sweeps across Iraq, creating a bloodbath. Iraqi Christians send out an urgent call for prayer. Tens of thousands of Christians have fled the country so far. Then there's Egypt. More than 500 Christian women have been kidnapped in that country since 2011 and forced to convert to Islam. In Nigeria, the terrorist group Boko Haram abducted nearly 300 schoolgirls and has waged a violent campaign against Christians. And in Iran, Pastor Saeed Abedini remains in prison and has endured torture for his Christian faith. The persecution takes different forms depending on the country where Christians live. In Pakistan, for example, Christians are tolerated, but they have to be careful about what they say. Simply defending their faith can lead to imprisonment, and a possible death sentence there. While in Somalia, a Muslim who converts from Islam to Christianity can be killed. Today, Christians face violence, displacement, or discrimination in 110 nations around the world. Mark Martin, CBN News.
CBN News contributor Meriam Ibrahim is the author of Crucified Again, Exposing Islam's New War on Christians. Recently, CBN international correspondent George Thomas asked him about the recent fighting in Iraq and what it means for Christians and the West.
ISIS, who are they? What are their ultimate goals? Help our viewers understand what's going on with this group.
Their ultimate goal is the ultimate goal of all the Islamic radical jihadists, from Al-Qaeda to even the Muslim Brotherhood, which is the resurrection of a caliphate and the enforcement of Islamic Sharia law.
We have been talking about this for a number of years, and it was in some ways like a pipe dream. I mean, this is impossible to resurrect the Ottoman Empire, the caliphate, but now it seems more like a reality.
The caliphate is historically, after the Islamic prophet Muhammad died, it became the government. Religion and state are one and the same. And the caliphate's primary business is to expand territory and bring infidels under its authority. And that's what it did historically.
And when you look at what's taking place today in Mosul, in northern Iraq, can you give our viewers an understanding of what does Sharia law look today for the residents of Mosul?
The Pact of Omar, or the Conditions of Omar, which is an old Islamic teaching, which is what justifies, as you may know it, dhimmitude, which is basically keeping Christians and non-Muslims suppressed. And so ISIS is now in these regions forcing Christians to live according to this 14th-century-old pact, in which it includes things like do not build churches, you can't renovate churches, you have to wait until they crumble, you can't show your crosses, you can't talk about your religion.
You have to pay a tax.
You have to pay a tribute, jizya, monetary tax, and you're basically a third-class citizen. And now they are enforcing this, and we're reliving history of 1400 years.
Can we talk about the influence of foreign jihadis? There is a big concern amongst Western intelligence agencies that there are a huge number of foreign fighters on the battlefield in Iraq and Syria, and the concern is that these folks will come back to the Western world, come back to the United States. Are you concerned about this?
I am, and the thing is, we have absolutely perfect precedent. If you go back to Al-Qaeda, Afghanistan, most of those fighters, they were not even Afghani. They were Arabs coming from all around the world because this is the jihad theater. We're going to go, we're going to conquer, we're going to build up a new emirate. And we saw how that ended up with 9/11.
The U.S., the White House, is in such a predicament. Because on one hand, they supported elements of ISIS in Syria against the Assad regime. Now we have this chaos in Iraq. What should the United States do? Can it do anything, or should it just sit back and watch them slaughter each other?
Up until now, in my opinion, all the groups that the United States has been supporting have not been the groups that we should be, from the Muslim Brotherhood, from the so-called rebels in Syria. So we need to at least take a break back and really reassess the situation and try to figure out who are the good guys and who are the bad guys, and actually, why don't we support the good guys?
And unfortunately, the good guys, in many cases, the Christians, they are caught in the crossfire, aren't they?
Always. They're in the crossfire. They're damned if they do, they're damned if they don't. They're infidels, they're minorities, they're outnumbered, they're ostracized, they have no weapons, and so they're the easiest and quickest targets.
And obviously, the big concern, last few seconds, the Christians in Mosul and the biblical cities of Nineveh and so forth, they're going to Kurdistan, they're trying to get out of the region,
Ironically, in Iraq, after the war, and more than half of the Iraqi indigenous Christian population fled, many of them to Syria. Now, they and the Syrian Christians are trying to flee out of Syria because the same pattern has come to them, and they're running out of places to go.
Yeah, unbelievable. Raymond, as always, thank you so much. The book, again, is called Crucified Again, Exposing Islam's New War on Christians. As always, sir, thank you for being on the broadcast. Awesome. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Up next, the newest tool in the fight against breast cancer. People are connecting every day on Facebook and Twitter. Now you can connect on topics you care about through 700 Club Interactive. Log on to Facebook or go to Twitter and share your opinions, your prayer requests, and make friends in our community.
Welcome to 700 Club Interactive.
Be a part of the show on Facebook and Twitter. 700 Club Interactive.
CBNNews.com. News you want, when you want, 24/7. Stay current with up-to-the-minute stories.
Ephraim Graham, CBN News, New York.
I don't have to wait for my news anymore. CBNNews.com at your fingertips all day long.
I only watch the stories I want to see.
I find the story, I click on it, and boom, I'm there.
Embassy in Washington, Eric Stackelbeck, CBN News.
The source for your news, CBNNews.com.
Life is my mission field. I didn't want just an occupation. I wanted an opportunity to inspire others. That's why I went to Regent for my college degree. I knew what I was after. They helped me achieve it.
At Regent, you can study online or on campus. For more information, visit regentundergrad.com or call 1-800-210-0060.
When you choose Regent, you're choosing to change your life.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
A new tool used to detect breast cancer appears to be working better than the traditional mammogram. Lori Johnson tells about 3D mammograms and why getting one in addition to a regular mammogram is the way to go.
Jennifer Heft lives life to the fullest, but the hot air balloon enthusiast and race car driver could have lost her life to breast cancer had it not been for the 3D mammogram she got.
I truly believe that the 3D mammography is what got my cancer early and is allowing me to pretty much live my life the way I want to.
3D mammograms have only been used for a few years. Compared to the traditional 2D mammograms, the 3D mammograms allow radiologists to get a better overall view of the breast.
A mass that has irregular borders in the upper part of the breast. And this is very much typical of what a cancer looks like, hidden on the 2D mammogram, but very well seen on the 3D mammogram.
Dr. Friedewald and her associates studied nearly 500,000 women and discovered the 3D mammograms detected nearly a third more cancers than regular mammograms did. The study appears in the most recent issue of the Journal of the American Medical Association.
We found invasive cancers, or the cancers that we worry about, the ones that could potentially kill people, more frequently in women who had the 3D mammogram versus the women who just had the 2D mammogram.
They also discovered 3D mammograms produced fewer false positives than traditional mammograms. Right now, 40,000 people die each year from breast cancer, but thanks to the 3D mammogram, that number may decline.
Life is short. My life's going to be long and full, and I'm going to go out and do the things I want to.
Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Kids, we want them to grow up knowing God's Word. But in today's busy world, sometimes we could use some help. The free Superbook Kids Bible app has fun stuff your kids will love. They'll have a blast learning the Bible, playing great games, watching cool videos, discovering heroes in the Bible. They'll have fun while they learn God's Word. The Superbook Kids Bible app, available on iTunes and the Google Play Store.
I know how it feels to be alone, to be hungry, to be afraid. I haven't had a birthday party, my own room, or a family to call mine. I'm an orphan. An orphan. An orphan. And there are 100 million more like me in the world today.
Together, you and I can make a tremendous difference to someone today. We can change the lives of orphans. I'm asking you to get involved. Give to Orphans Promise. From Asia to Africa, from Latin America to Europe, you'll be providing housing, food, education, job training, and hope to children who are alone and at risk. Jesus said, "Whatever you do for the least of these, you do for me." Please give to Orphans Promise and love a child today.
I really wanted to help women, and I knew going back to school would be the best way to just even achieve those goals. Regent University just offered me the opportunity to be able to go to school online,
to get a degree in a secular discipline of psychology with a Christian basis and be able to take care of my daughter.
Inside every child is a hero, a leader, a friend to others, someone who helps out, who does the right thing, who dreams of what they can be, but they still need our help.
What should I do? What should I say? How should I feel?
That's where Superbook comes in. It provides moral and spiritual truths through situations children can relate to, teaching God's Word to the children you love. Join the Superbook DVD Club and receive Superbook's newest episodes as they're available, plus 2 copies to share with others, all for your gift of only $25. Get Superbook today and watch the miracles happen.
A new movie based on the true story of a vagabond surfer who had a surprise meeting with God comes to America in July. As Paul Strand reports, some churchgoers who meet in movie theaters got a sneak preview.
You've come the closest you can get.
A Perfect Wave is a love story, a coming-of-age tale, and a look at surfers trekking the globe looking for the perfect ride.
Are you going to tell me about this perfect wave?
It's almost as if time stands still.
But the perfect ride takes actor Scott Eastwood, Clint Eastwood's son, down a road to death and beyond, all based on a true story of a young man who met God in heaven but came back to tell the tale. Popular conference speaker and author of The Circle Maker, Mark Batterson, gave his megachurch in the Washington area a sneak peek.
The Perfect Wave isn't just a movie, but for Pastor Mark Batterson, he thought it was the perfect vehicle to reach a generation that's often more comfortable in a movie theater than it is in a church.
We really believe, as a church that meets in 7 movie theaters, that the screen is like postmodern stained glass. And so the medieval church told the gospel story in stained glass to an illiterate generation. I think we've got to find a way to tell the gospel story in moving pictures to a post-literate generation.
Former Charlie's Angels star Cheryl Ladd plays the Christian mother who's been trying to reach Eastwood's atheist character his whole life.
No matter how far you might be from God, no matter what you've done wrong, if you call out to Him from your heart, He will hear you, and He will forgive you.
Cheryl Ladd plays a character, a praying mom, if you will, in the movie. And I love that piece of the story because at the end of the movie, her prayers are really miraculously answered in the life of her son.
And you can see how when The Perfect Wave opens up in various theaters across the nation starting July 11th. Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
Well, that's going to do it for CBN News today. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com. And tell us what you think about the stories you've seen here. You can do that on Facebook or at CBN News on Twitter. We hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day. God bless.